Hello everyone, welcome to xFusion Education Center. This is FusionServer CPU Insight and FusionServer Naming Rules lesson. This is xFusion Intelligent Server Portfolio. With different appearance and purpose, we classified Fusion servers into rack server, high-density server, heterogeneous server, mission-critical server, and Fusion pod, which is a rack scale full liquid-cooled server. So what's rack server? A rack server is a server mounted within a framework that enables multiple servers to be stacked vertically. This could improve the space utilization for data centers. And we have a full range of rack servers to meet different requirements, from general purpose, balanced, storage intensive, which could support large disk capacity, compute intensive, which have more CPU compute resource, to our mission critical server, which support a large memory resource. Along with the development of computing power, high-density server is introduced to support stronger computing power. Basically, high-density server is within one rack. It could support maximum 4 compute nodes. For example, X6000 V6 server. This is a 2U 4-socket chassis, which could support 4 1U half-wide and 2-socket server nodes. The computing density is 4 times higher than the 2U rack servers. And with the application of new technologies, heterogeneous server is introduced to support more graphic processing works. Although rack server could support GPU cards, but heterogeneous server could support more numbers of GPU resources. Mission-critical server, which is our Kunlun 9008 V5, is designed for mission-critical workloads and ideal for core database application consolidation, HPC fed nodes, and SAP HANA. Fusion Pod is our brand new computing cluster server. This features high computing power and energy efficiency. The full liquid cooling technology could lower the power usage effectiveness PUE to 1.1, which means remarkable energy efficiency. Also, this could support 36 compute nodes. As you can see, there are V5 and V6 generations, and in January 13, 2023, we have launched our brand new V7 series model, and we will introduce our V7 models in later episode. So what's the difference between those models? Let's move to CPU Roadmap to find out. As we all know, the Central Processing Unit, CPU, is a computer component that is responsible for interpreting and executing most of the commands from the computer's hardware and software, which is the most important component of server. You may see many different names used to describe the CPU, including processor, microprocessor, and most of all, this is the brain of the server. In 2006, Intel officially released the Core 2 processor and announced the Tick-Tock program to update the CPU every year. Tick represents the improvement of the CPU manufacturing process, and Tock represents the update of the CPU architecture. And see here, I listed past 10 years of CPU technologies. As you can see, Tick-Tock is the meaning of the clock, and in Intel's processor development strategy, each Tick-Tock represents a 2-year process progress. The tick in each Tick-Tock is a process improvement. That means the transistor becomes smaller and the original microarchitecture is enhanced on this basis. And Tock is update of the CPU architecture, while the tick in tick-tock maintains the same process. Microarchitecture innovation, which always alternates between the two paths of improvement of the process progress, and the core architecture, avoids the risk of failure that may be brought by simultaneous innovation, and at the same time, continuous development can reduce the research and the development cycle and create a continuous stimulus to the market, and ultimately improve the competitiveness of the product. Now Intel adopted to PAO model, so the process architecture optimization PAO is the development model for CPU that Intel adopted in 2016. Under this 3-year model, every microprocessor die shrink is followed by a microarchitecture change, and then by one or more optimizations. With Intel updating their CPU technology, FusionServer is updating along with it. As you can see from V3 series models, we use Intel Xeon E5 2600 V3 and V4 processors, which based on Intel Grantley platform, and each processor supports 6 memory channels and 18 cores to 22 cores. V5 series model used the second generation Intel Xeon scalable processors, which based on Intel Purley platform. Each processor supports 6 memory channels and a maximum of 28 cores, and a maximum frequency of 3.8 GHz. Then we move on to V6 series. We have our third generation Intel Xeon scalable processors, include Cooper Lake and Ice Lake, based on Intel Cedar Island and Whitley platform. The process frequency increased greatly, reached a maximum of 3.9 GHz, provide fast processing speed, and PCIe 4.0 expansion slot. As I said, there are Cooper Lake and Ice Lake. They support different numbers of memory channels and sockets. Cooper Lake supports 6 memory channels, and Ice Lake could support 8 memory channels. And Ice Lake can only support 1 or 2 processors, while Cooper Lake could support 4 or 8 processors. Also, as you can see, the size of CPU is getting smaller with each innovation, from 22 nanometer to 10 nanometer. This means it's getting extremely tiny. When the transistor size is smaller, there is less distance between them. And the less distance means the electric signal will travel faster, making the overall performance of the CPU better. So basically this time, we will focus on the naming rules of rack server and high-density server. Let's see rack server naming rules. Basically, it's named by 4 numbers and 1 letter, and a letter V with another number. So the first number indicates the server height. U is a standard unit of measure for designating the height in computer enclosures and server rack cabinets. 1U equals to 4.445 centimeters. And the second number indicates the number of CPU. The third and fourth number are combined together for model type, such as general purpose or storage-intensive models. And H stands for high configuration, which means the configuration of CPU, memory, and PCIe expansion are higher. And sometimes there is a C, stands for liquid cooled. The number followed after the V is the FusionServer's generation. Usually are V3, V5, and V6. And now we have our V7, indicates different FusionServer's generation, and means higher technology and better performance. For example, 2488H V5 is a 2U4 processor high configuration server equipped with Intel Purley CPU, includes Skylake and Cascade Lake. And there is an exception, which is our 5885HV5. This is a 4U4 socket rack server, but named as 5885. Let's move on to the naming rules of compute node for high-density server. So X stands for high density. H means Intel platform. The first number is always 3 or 6. 3 means half width and 6 means full width. Half width is the width of the compute node occupied half of the width of the compute node installation area of the high-density server. Let's see an example. XH321V5. This is a high-density server with half-width 1U2 socket air-cooled node. Supports Skylake and Cascade Lake CPU, and full-wide compute node won't be developed for V5 and V6 series anymore. This is all for FusionServer CPU Insight and FusionServer naming rules. Thank you.